Muzan is back and he has infiltrated the Hashira. Let's get into this. I'm actually not gonna wear this the whole time because I feel ridiculous right now. I'm not actually Muzan. Hello there, my fandom friends, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have some awesome things to talk about in regards to episode 7 of the Hashira training arc, Demon Slayer, of course. This video will contain absolutely no spoilers for the manga, so feel free to stick around even if you haven't read the manga. You're totally safe. Everything I'm going to be talking about in this video is just pure speculation and just thoughts and theories that I want to share because I want to get my thoughts out and I want to hear what you have to say about my thoughts. Alright, so if you've seen episode 7, I hope you have because I'm going to be talking about it in this episode right now, in fact. But the way that this episode ends is Muzan infiltrating the Hashira. And wow, everything that they showed was, for the most part, not really depicted in the manga the same way. There's like 2 or 3 panels of just like Muzan showing up. And so the anime just made it so much better. And everything that was shown could just be kind of for dramatic effect. This part was very dramatic. So dramatic, but for good reason. Of course, Muzan is infiltrating in the one place we really didn't want him to, and now he's showing up toward the end of this Demon Slayer story. And so, of course, there's a good reason for it to be super dramatic, but I have a theory in mind that I haven't really seen people talk about that I just wanted to get out and hear your thoughts. So we start off this last little 5 minutes of Muzan showing up with him walking through the forest in kind of this heavily fogged area. It's kind of this mist foggy area through the forest. And then we get a very long clip. It's about 30 seconds of the doors opening to the Hashira kind of hideout, and Muzan is coming through. Now, as the doors open, we see a bunch of fog come in. It's very obvious, and Muzan is silhouetted in the middle. Now, this transfers over to the credits, and then it jumps back to Muzan with some extra footage of him. This next scene is really important because it shows this border in between where the Hashira are inside, and it shows the outside world. And so on the inside, it's all clear air, there's nothing really much going on, and then there's the doors and the barrier, this wall, and then on the other side, it's just the forest and it's just fog everywhere. Now, my video is going to be focused on this kind of fog that Muzan walks through, and so I'm wondering, what if this is the Wisteria border that surrounds the Hashira? Of course, we learned this back, I think it was in season 1, very early on, that there is Wisteria that borders the entire Hashira area. This is partially how they've been able to stay hidden for so long. No demons have entered because of this, and for other reasons as well, but I'm focusing on the Wisteria part of this. Now, this next scene is a very clear shot of his feet walking through this kind of fog-like substance. And his feet, when they go through it, it's like the fog is like separating around him. Like, yes, of course, when you're walking through fog, that's going to happen, but the fog is nowhere near in front of him. It's all behind him. Of course, he's walking through it, but as his foot stops, the fog kind of disperses and it kind of goes away. But when his leg is moving, we can clearly see that there's like a barrier that's being pushed through. And I'm wondering if maybe, if this is the Wisteria border that he's walking through, of course we know that he's probably the most capable one that can do this because he's like the demon king out of all the demons. He's the most powerful and has the ability to probably withstand some of that and regenerate. But what if he's walking through it and kind of regenerating and healing himself as he's going through? And so that's kind of why there's such a buildup of just this like substance around him. It's a mix of the Wisteria kind of fog, and then it's a mix of him probably kind of burning a bit from the poison and then regenerating himself and being completely fine. In every scene that follows this, Muzan is basically just at the front with like all of this fog just coming out from behind him. And yes, of course, he did walk through it, but it's also just like kind of bubbling up behind him and gathering. And I've noticed that a lot of these scenes are also showing this kind of foggy substance to kind of glow a bit. And that could just be the animated kind of style of their editing choice, but I do think that there is a bit more when it goes into this. It's not just for dramatic effect. Of course, this is just my opinion. We get many scenes of close-ups of kind of parts of Muzan's body that like wouldn't really matter. So like they kind of show just like half of his shoulder and the back of his head. And then of course we get multiple scenes of like his feet walking and his legs moving. And it's just clear that he's walking through a wall of something, kind of like a veil of something. And it's just flowing out from behind him. This kind of wall that he is walking through, whether it's Wisteria or something else, we see it throughout his whole travels to Kagaya. It even continues and persists onto that kind of boardwalk bridge he was walking on. We can even see it clear enough in the reflection of the water. That's how thick this stuff is. It's not just fog. Like, we couldn't really see fog like that just in a reflection of the water. Like, this is something that's thick and there's a meaning behind it that's super important. Everything disperses once he makes his way to Kagaya and Amane, who are waiting for him in their place. If we go back and compare from the beginning of this scene to the end of this scene, it just seems like there was so much more in the beginning, and as he walked on, it slowly dispersed into nothing. And what I think this is that there is a wall of wisteria around this hashira hideout. And of course, the further he gets into it, he's walking through this wall of it, he's fighting it off at the same time. The closer he is to Kagaya, the more he is to like the center of it. And so it's just worn off. He doesn't have to worry about it any longer. Again, he's also like the demon king. So he has the ability to do things like this that maybe the other demons don't because they're so much weaker than him. And so that basically concludes my thoughts on all of this. I do understand if you think this is just a stretch and you're sitting there laughing at me. But all of my friends and I that watched this together, I had like a group of like 6 of us watching this, and we all thought the same thing, that there had to be some kind of meaning behind this fog that's like coming out from behind Muzan. And why would the story introduce that there's wisteria surrounding it in season 1, and then Muzan just walks in? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I think that would cause a plot hole that like people would wonder like, well, how could he just walk in? That doesn't make any sense. And so for him to fight this wall of there's something there, I think it makes clear sense that Muzan is fighting the wisteria as he's walking in. He's also making his grand entrance, so there is also that part of the dramatic effect. I just can't get over how clearly it looks like he's walking through a wall of something. It's not just air. Muichiro's not off to the side misbreathing. Earlier in this episode, we of course got Guillaume's backstory, and we saw that he would burn the wisteria in his little infusers. We saw them kind of, you know, smoking off. That's what diffusers do. But I wonder if that was almost like a little Easter egg or like a little hint earlier in the episode to kind of allude to this. We're still bringing back the wisteria. It's not something that has been forgotten. And so for all of these reasons, I believe that Muzan got into the hashira hideout to get to Kagaya by walking through that wisteria border. And that is going to basically conclude my thoughts about this. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts about this. If you agree with me, if it is the wisteria or something else, or if he's just being completely dramatic and we're just getting awesome animation once again. Of course we're getting awesome animation. It's Demon Slayer. Huge shout out to all of the people who made this possible. I was just in complete awe of this scene when I watched it last week. And so that is going to conclude this theory. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye!